Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 32 of the Stire Sound. We are here. It is the off week, but we took last week off and now we're back to recap the Indianapolis Supercross Triple Crown, second one of those of the year, plus the opening round of MXGP was in Argentina. And of course, we're going to preview this weekend's action. Birmingham, first East-West showdown of the year. Should be really fun in the 250 division this weekend, plus the second MXGP round. They are heading to Spain this weekend. I am Trey Stire, your host. Thank you so much for joining us. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube. You know where to find us. Make sure to continue spread the word. Follow, subscribe, do all of that fun stuff to help support us. Joining me as always from the Dirt Legal Dirt Bike Depot WMR KTM team, Jack Noel is here. What's up, man? Off weekends in the book, and now we have a very highly anticipated East-West showdown with so many talented 250 riders in the class.
Yeah, I think the East West is going to be interesting. Definitely for the East guys. I think the West, it's kind of over. I don't think any of us are really thinking that Levi Kitchen has any sort of a chance to be in this title hunt. I mean, which I think is such a disappointment because I feel like if we have like an East West, like we all have like, let's say we have like four West races or three West races, and then we go East for a race or two. Then we have East West, like it kind of mixes it up, kind of how we're seeing with the East Coast right now. We're around four, right, for the East Coast, and we got two East West in the next three weekends.
Great.
So I'm just like these next three weekends for the East Coast are going to be very, very crucial. I think for guys like Joe Shimoda, guys like Seth Hamaker, guys like Cole Davies, and obviously
100%.
Pierce, and obviously like guys like and Pierce Brown. Those four guys I think have to be in the top five to really maintain their position in this championship hunt. Because at this point, I think it's anybody's game. I think everybody's got some sort of piece of momentum that they're carrying with them. I think Seth Hamaker obviously winning in Daytona. You have Cole Davies going 1-1-1 this past weekend in Indy. It's like everybody's got something going from Joe. Granted, hasn't had the best of luck, but always happens to be so good late in the year. Like you just see that from Joe Shimoda. So I'm very, very intrigued to see how this East West shootout shakes up. I think Deegan and Kitchen and like Ryder D will definitely mix some things up, but the West is so weak. Like it's gonna be it's gonna be weird. I think it's gonna be a lot of good East Coast guys, and you have your good West Coast guys like Deegan and Kitchen and like Ryder D. But like I mean, and then they have like who else do you have? Max Anstey, and that's it, right? I mean, for factory guys, everybody else is hurt. Hymus is out. Who else is out? Mosman's
Mosman
out.
now.
Yeah, Mosman's hurt now. So it's like it just sucks because like the West Coast just doesn't have the star power. It seems like the East Coast does when it comes to top heavy speed. Um, so sorry. But yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting to see how everything goes. I think there's only 21 entries for West Coast guys, so
Yeah,
not a
you're
lot
right.
of guys.
Only one guy going to miss the night show.
Yeah, so it's like I mean, I'm sure there'll be maybe another one that gets in there somewhere, but at the end of the day, it's going to be very interesting to watch how everything goes. The East Coast side is most definitely more stacked, and I'm interested to see how it goes from Birmingham. I think the East Coast is obviously the coast to watch right now, but for championship hopes for any of these guys, the next few races are going to be very, very crucial.
Yeah, to piggyback off of your point, I think that it's going to be crucial for those East guys, and even a third or fourth in this case might be good. If Deegan and Kitchen get out front and show the pace they had on the West Coast, you take a third place finish from this showdown, it could be pivotal later in the year. And of course, we have another one coming up in a couple weeks. St. Louis, I believe, is the next one. So we have some of these right in a row, which is really weird because usually they're spaced out pretty good. But 2 and 3 weeks is kind of crazy. But at least for these guys, I guess one of the silver linings you could say is you don't have to really wait and kind of forget about the other guy's speed. It's like, oh, I just raced him 2 weeks ago. I know how to compete with him now. But moving on to a little bit of Indianapolis recap. 450 class, Hunter Lawrence, second win. He's starting to trade victories with Eli Tomac. It's really been fluctuating the wins and the championship standings. Of course, Eli Tomac won Seattle, brought it to 1 point within Hunter Lawrence after Hunter collided with Ken Roxon. Then Arlington, Hunter wins, goes up by 4. Daytona, Tomac wins again, puts it back down to 1, and then Indianapolis flips it back. Hunter Lawrence a 4 point lead again. Of course, there were some lappers in the way, a little bit of controversy there. I've said my take on the TransWorld Motocross live show. You know, I'm a big privateer supporter, and I think they're absolutely necessary, and I'd love to see those guys still out there. But at the same time, we should enforce some of these rules more strictly. I'm surprised that a couple guys didn't get penalty points on their license. We have these penalty points now. And for some of these guys who are ignoring blue flags or not moving over to not get penalized in some shape or form is a little bit strange. But nonetheless, Hunter Lawrence, a great victory, great performance from him again. Eli Tomac rode great as well. Justin Cooper with a moto win in there. It was a huge result for Justin. I mean, he got passed by Eli. I feel like everybody probably thought, well, he's just going to settle into second. No, he went right back, attacked ET3, and got the victory. So shout out to Justin Cooper. I know it wasn't an overall win, but a big step forward for him nonetheless. Now we are here after an off weekend, 4 points. It seems like it's really a two-horse race. Cooper Webb, Ken Roczen might steal a win or two, but it's really Lawrence versus Tomac now, and Hunter fired another shot in there, second win in the last three races with his victory at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah, Hunter Lawrence is the man right now, and I think to come after Daytona after the second place there, to be able to come back into Indy and be in the fight the whole time and stick it to Tomac. I know it wasn't any of their best races. I don't think was what won them that. I think it was the like I had said. I thought they were both going to have an off race, but neither one of them seemed to have that. They didn't have any great races. Don't get me wrong, but they neither one of them had a off race. So for me, that's just very much like a championship style race. Like to win it like that, to win a triple crown with did he only win one moto, right? Yeah, he won.
I believe so.
He won Moto 3, I believe. And he got it done when he had to get it done. So it's like one of those things where it's just like that's a championship style moto. Tomac, same kind of thing. Getting second when he has to get second. Um, it was a great weekend overall for Hunter Lawrence. Obviously, just being able to come out of there with three more points on Tomac. I don't know how it's going to go this weekend in Birmingham. I'm very like anything can happen with an off weekend. Um, and yeah, I'm just very excited to see how these next couple races shake up. I think it could be a back and forth battle between these two guys every single weekend. And it just seems like as we get more like towards the West Coast again, I guess you could say like we get a little track like St. Louis, like Tomac's known to be pretty good there. Um, we get to rounds like Detroit. Neither one of them, I don't think, have won there in the last 3 years. Um, but nonetheless, it's still like, and this we could see spoilers from guys like Ken Roczen and Cooper Webb, and when Chase comes back and how he's feeling. Like, I'm very interested to see how he does, or to see how they do when these guys are in the way, and not just lappers in the way, right? But just and in general, guys that are in the race that are like in between you, how do you react? So it's Tomax. We saw in Arlington, right, with the bumping Cooper Webb out of the way when he had to get by Cooper Webb because Coop's known to ride a wide bike. To get to where he needed to be. It's just stuff like that that's going to like win you a championship. At this point, I think both of those guys know that. Both of those guys are smart enough to know like what to do in certain situations. This is where I give Hunter a lot of props because I think he's learned from Jet, but I think he's a lot smarter than Jet when it comes to things like when to go for something, when to not go for something. Like we've seen that bite Jet before. Like I mean, this to bring us up, Hangtown 2024, I believe. I believe it was 2024.
Crash, yeah.
Like why? Like it doesn't make sense to go for a first lap of the first moto. Like it's like, what are we doing?
Harlington that year as well when he tried that whoop pass on Cooper Webb really late in the going and went down.
Yeah, it's just stuff like that that Jet kind of doesn't have perfect, but like he makes up for it in like the raw speed and just the absolute crazy talent that he has. Hunter doesn't have that part of Jet, but he does have this up on Jet. I think of the like
Racecraft.
awareness of like where you're at in a race and what you have to do in a certain situation. And I think that's going to help Hunter tremendously in the situation. Because I think if it's Jet, it could be a different story. Like if Jet was this close to Tomac, like how does Jet? Because we've never seen Jet in a situation outside the first 6 rounds where he's like in a serious championship fight. So It's going to be a battle to the end. I'm just glad it's close still, and I think that these other guys can play spoiler, and it's going to be a dogfight, man.
Yeah, as you mentioned, only one moto win for the two title favorites in Indianapolis. Justin Cooper's moto win in race number two. That was absolutely pivotal because that was also the race where Hunter Lawrence clipped Cole Thompson, went down very briefly but recovered, was fourth, I believe. But Justin Cooper keeping Eli Tomac from winning was a huge piece to Hunter winning the overall. Of course, Ken Roczen got the moto win in the first race of the night, but unfortunately he went down with AP in the second moto. But now moving to this weekend, Birmingham, still a very new round, only the third year we've raced in Birmingham. And Cooper Webb's won it before in 2024. And you have the 2025 edition, of course, Chase Sexton won, and Chase won't be lining up this weekend, it seems. So a little wide open between the two championship contenders, not a round with a ton of history to look back on. Then when you look at the 250 class in Indianapolis, it was the Cole Davies show all night. Qualifying, you had some other guys up there, but he grabbed the bull by the horns in the night show. 1-1-1, absolute domination from Cole Davies. And we've said the last couple weeks, he looks like the most impressive guy on pure speed, pure pace. And then he goes out there, gets it done, a perfect night and a perfect sweep. And now Cole Davies is the red plate holder for the 250 East class. I believe the first four guys separated by only 2 points, so very, very close after three rounds. But Davies got the win he needed. I'm going to put a little bit of a spoiler or a reminder from my podium predictions. I actually nailed a podium for once in my life. I had Davies, Shimoda, Hammaker on the 250 podium, and that's exactly the order they finished in. But Jack, talk a little bit about Cole Davies. I mean, we've been singing his praises the last few weeks here, but he went out there, he finally gets the starts, and he gets the job done. Just a perfect, dominant night from the Kiwi.
I think that was for a track like Indy to ride as fast as he did all night was quite crazy. I don't think his back end bounced one time in the whoops, like which I mean maybe it did, of course, but at the end of the day, it's like you could see everybody getting sketchy in the whoops, and he is straight as an arrow, faster than every single buddy
Hammering.
in the class, just ripping the whoops. And you're just like, how in the heck is this guy doing that? Like it was actually ridiculous. Um, but no, that's the kind of I think Cole's good on that kind of stuff though. Like just like the commitment level that Cole has to like being fast. I think on a track like Indy is just kind of what it takes. Indy kind of slows guys down. I think not only from like a legitimate track aspect, but like the mental side of Indy too. Like I think the mental side of Indy, like for us on our team side, right? We experienced the mental side of Indy pretty heavily when in Indianapolis. So I think that's another thing that people don't even look at when it comes to Indianapolis, like just how bad the track gets and how it affects you mentally going into the races. So for Cole to be able to block all that noise out and to basically ride the track like it was brand new, the whole race, all three races, it's pretty darn impressive. But I think this East Coast title, as we've seen in years past, is not all about true and raw speed and being the fastest guy. I mean, you look at last year, for example, Tom VL, Seth Hammaker, RJ Hampshire. RJ Hampshire was granted the fastest guy on the East Coast that year before Max Anstey got hurt, right? Or after Max Anstey got hurt. So RJ then is climbing back through the thing, has to get it done, has to get it done, and just makes a bonehead move. And it's like that's RJ Hampshire to a T. But even the year before that, like Deegan was definitely better than Tom was, I think. Um, come Supercross. Like I don't think that Tom was worse, but Tom's was able to manage both titles and get what he needed to get up. And don't get me wrong, too. Tom also had a DNF in there. Tom had a moto where
Yeah,
nothing even happened.
22nd in Foxborough.
So like somehow Tom was able to manage through all of that stuff and still win a title, which is crazy to me. Which I'm very excited to talk about MXGP because he had a great weekend. Um, Nonetheless, it's just that's what it's going to take to win this East Coast title. I think Cole Davies, if he can nanny out the kinks, get through the hard times, and move through the toughness of the East Coast of this East Coast Championship with how deep it is towards the top. I think he'll be fine. I don't think, but if he does start riding over his head a little bit and get squirrely, crash a couple times, and kind of throw maybe a race or two away, it can end just like that for him. And it's not good. I think it'll come with time, but I also don't think for Cole's career, like is like, I mean, you know how it is now in the 250 class. Like, you win a title, you have 1 year defending, you have to go up. Like, it might not be all bad to not win. Like it, I don't think it's a terrible. Like you look at guys like Jordan Smith and RJ Hampshire who've been in the class forever. Like I obviously hope that doesn't happen to him, but like I think he's 18 years old now, right? Like maybe not winning your first title right now is a huge deal. Like it's give it a let's maybe next year we come in and we really buckle down and we're the best guy. Kind of like Deegan is this year. So I think there's ways to look at it too. Like if he wins the title, I think it's great. Don't get me wrong, but it could also be something that hurts him. Like you have to go 450 in 2 years after that, basically. And there's not a whole lot of 450 rides right now, so it's just tough. It's a tough scenario to put, but this title really is anybody's scenario, and really winning a 250 title at this point, all of these guys' careers could be not devastating, but it doesn't seem like it's the brightest thing to do in this era right now.
I think you bring up a good point there, and then touching on the consistency part of the 250 East class, we saw it from Tom, and it seems like it's the story of the 250 East division more often than not. I think back to Chase's first title when Austin Forkner gets hurt. Chase really wasn't the fastest guy throughout the year, but he found a way to stay in it, and then when somebody else had a mistake or got injured, he capitalized. I think back to Will Hahn in 2013. Marvin Musquin was probably the fastest guy in that division, but Will Hahn was consistent, and I think he was on the podium every single round or every round but one, ended up winning the title by a couple points. It seems like the East Division has so many opportunities there for more consistent guys to get in the mix. Now we are going to move on to MXGP, as you mentioned. A great weekend for Tom Vial. Team Honda HRC Petronas. What a dominant display from them in the class. Jeffrey Herlings won one in his MXGP debut aboard a Honda. Absolutely fantastic result from the number 84. We've known he still has the speed. We know he's Jeffrey Herlings. He has so many wins, triple digit wins over the course of his career, but another one day. And his first showing on a Yamaha, I think, was particularly impressive. As you mentioned, Tom Vial was right there on the podium as well. A great weekend for Tom. I believe 2-4 moto scores, showed a lot of speed, led some laps. He was definitely the best rookie of the weekend. Roman Fevra
Also,
also up on the podium. Go ahead.
Also, Tom did win the quali race as well, which
He
that
did.
now just to remind everybody it does pay points. So,
hmm
which is I think that's kind of cool, but nonetheless, just want to throw that out there as well.
Yes, Tom Vial won the qualifying race. Big statement on Saturday. And because he won the qualifying race, he is tied with Herlings in points. Of course, Jeffrey went down during the qualifying race, only ended up 12th, I believe, so he didn't get a point. Top 10 get points. But Tom, by virtue of his qualifying win, will see dual red plate Hondas in the qualifying this race this weekend in Spain. Tim Geiser, not bad in his debut. 6.3, 7.3, something like that aboard his Yamaha. I think Lucas Kunin was kind of the disappointment of the weekend, though. He really wasn't anywhere to be found. He was second in the qualifying race, but not really in that fight for the race victory in Argentina. And of course, I had him as my championship prediction. So some work to do for the number five. Then in the MX2 class, Langenfelder starts the year with a dominant 1-1, a great performance for your defending champion on the Red Bull KTM factory racing machine. It's what he needed to do. We talked about it. This is basically his championship, and this could be a make or break season, even though he is the defending champion. With a bit weaker MX2 field this year, he goes out 1-1. And it was two triumphs filling out the rest of the podium. Your guy, Guillaume Perez, up on the podium. Camden McClellan on the podium. Great runs for the Triumph guys. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see possibly both of those guys maybe steal a win at some point this year. They're definitely going to rack up a lot of podiums. Sasha Kunin was in prime Sasha Kunin form, wins the qualifying race, second in the first moto, then DNF out on the first lap of the second moto. Classic Sasha Kunin is all I can say. Some of the younger guys showed some pace. I think Giannis Rezilis is looking really good off the start. Of course, one of the Latvian brothers there on the Monster Energy Yamaha MX2 machine. He was starting really good this weekend. He got the whole shot in both the qualifying race and Moto 1, and then his older brother Carlos got the whole shot in Moto 2. So it seems like these Yamaha guys have dialed in their MX2 package a little bit. Over the last few years, if you don't watch MXGP, it's kind of the opposite of what the Yamaha program has been in the US in the 250 division. Of course, we're used to seeing guys like Hayden Deegan go out and dominate. Their MX2 program has suffered for a long time, really, after Maxime Renault won the 2021 championship. They just haven't been in contentions. They've had some podiums here and there, but in terms of winning and domination, it is a far cry from what they're used to over here in America. But it was a fun round, the first weekend of MXGP. Of course, we have another race this weekend in Spain. Jack, I know you were stoked all weekend with Tom's riding, probably with Guy's riding as well, but talk a little bit about what you saw at the MXGP of Argentina. A fantastic start to the new partnership between Jeffrey Herlings and Honda. And overall, even with Ruben Fernandez was in the top five for a bit, Honda looked incredible in the first round of action.
Yeah, no, I think if you're Honda, you're probably the happiest manufacturer in the world right now. I mean, you're leading the points in the not only the AMA series, and you're also leading the points in the MXGP series. So it's and for their new guy Jeffrey Herlings to be off to such a hot start, I don't think anybody necessarily expected that. I think they might have thought it would have taken some time, and not knowing how Jeffrey's always feeling, like his health is always in question. I feel like, and I think for him to come out 1-1 right away, and then you have Tom right behind him to go, win the quali race and then go 2-4. Like you have to be pretty darn impressed with the pickups that Honda decided to get this year. Crazy that it seems like they've got two legitimate title contenders on their roster this year. After obviously letting go of Tim Geischer, which is something that is, I feel like it's pretty hard to do whenever you let go of the guy that's been the guy for a long time. Um, but to add two legitimate title contenders is something that I think any brand would be thankful for. So um, I definitely was disappointed with Lucas Kunin. I think Lucas definitely could have done more, but I also think the first round is always like who knows. Like we watch it in the U.S. all the time. Some guys have terrible A1s and they come out and
Yeah,
win the title. Like it's kind of crazy. Um, and I think that's just a flyaway race too. Like it's just different. It's not like a traditional. They have the bus and they whatever. They just that's just different, right? Um, but I think Tom and Jeffrey showed all the work they've been doing in the off season. I think it was they've been at least knowing they've been doing a lot of work just from talking to Tom and stuff. I mean, he's been riding a lot and racing a lot. Like they're doing the right things. It seems like, and um, yeah, I think it just paid off this weekend for them in Argentina right away. And I think that's the best way you can start a series. I think Jeffrey Herlings is going to be happy and Tom Bial is going to be happy. Somehow Honda has two red plates, three red plates, right? On the 4D class. Like it's pretty crazy. So
yeah.
um I think moving forward though, I think it'll be like I think Roman Feb had a great weekend. I think that's like the perfect thing that Feb could have done. I think
He
getting the
was really
podium,
solid.
like just super solid. Feb didn't like what Ed, our friend Ed was giving on like Feb might be a little championship hungover. Didn't seem like that was the case, which I think is huge going forward for Feb because it seems like he has
Absolutely.
some fight in this championship, which is I think what we all want to see. And then Geischer as well. I think Geischer bad Moto one. I think he did go down though, right? I
I
believe.
believe so.
And then obviously a third Moto two. So like you can't count Geiger out either. I think this championship's going to be really really tight. And I think throw Tom in there too, and then obviously you throw these guys that are healthy, Geiger, Herlings, and then obviously a Lucas Kunin on tracks that are like a sand track, or even the rest of the year. Like it could be a completely different story. So I'm really excited to watch this MXGP season unfold. I think it's going to be anybody's game. I think if Jeffrey Herlings get off to a hot start and stay healthy, it's going to be tough to beat him. I think Jeffrey Herlings has definitely got the most raw speed out of any of the guys on the track. But like it always is with the bullet, like it's just you never know what you're going to get from that guy sometimes. And unfortunately, he doesn't have the greatest track record of being healthy all the time. So yeah, but I think if Feb and all these guys can kind of step up, I think even Renault's got some in the tank too. I think there's other guys that can step in there and make some spoilers happen or put their foot in the door and get a podium or something like that. So there's just a lot to like look forward to in the MXGP class, and I think it's great. And yeah, I'm excited. But then the MX2 side, I like we all said before, Langenfelder, it's his to lose, and I think he could genuinely go perfect this year. It doesn't seem like anybody's not that I think he will, but like perfect in like an overall sense, right? Like just doesn't have any
Consistent. Yeah.
falters, just like wins every single weekend because I just feel like the other than Langenfelder, these other guys, you never know what you're going to get from these guys. I mean, like Perez and McClellan seem to be the most consistently not on the ground guys, but they're not like they don't have the speed that Coonan and Everts and some of those guys have. So it's like they're going to get beat, you know. So it's like kind of confusing. So if Langenfelder can stay upright, I think he wins every race. I really do. And maybe we see a guy like Gillum sneak in there in Spain this weekend, a track that he's familiar with. But at the same time, and then we could see some other guys like Valan and Lada jump in the in the mix. So it could be interesting on how everything works out. But I think the MX2 class is shaping up to be a battle for second. To be completely fair with you, so yeah, no, I think Spain this weekend is going to show some more, and I think it'll be a more comfortable race for some of the guys that aren't so comfortable being overseas.
It seems like I know it's only been one round, but it seems like a little bit of parallel you have to what the US series was in the first few rounds. In the GP class, you have really five guys you think could compete for the championship. Jeffrey, Tom, Roman, Lucas, Tim. That's five guys in there. Of course, early in the season over here, we had Hunter, Eli, Chase, Cooper, and Kenny all going for the title. And then you look at the 250 division, Hayden Deegan ran away in the West class. It looks like Langenfelder could run away. We know Sasha Kunin's going to win some races, but he's also going to wad a lot, as he did in Argentina. Wins the qualifying race, P2 first moto, and then goes down. Plus, you said there could be other spoilers, but it looks like it could be Langenfelder's title to lose. I'm very excited for this weekend. Maxime Renault also, he had a great start, was out front, led a lap or two, and was also in podium contention for a while in that second moto, but he went down, lost the front end, and ended up dropping a few spots. But you are right, he did show some solid speed in there, and I think starts are going to be huge for some of those guys who are trying to break in and spoil the party for podiums. If we see a guy like Renault or maybe a Ruben Fernandez, a Calvin Vlander, and they're going to have to get a really good start to mix it up because those other five guys that we mentioned in title contention, those guys are legit. Those are the best of the best. Of course, Herlings, Geiser, Fevre, so much history through the years. Tom's very decorated as well. I think we forget he's a two-time MX2 world champion to go along with those Supercross titles. He's very decorated in his own right. And of course, Lucas Coonan is one of the fastest young stars in the sport. I'm very, very excited for this weekend in Spain. That's our wrap up. I mean, we didn't have too much to cover because a lot of it was already covered, but it should be a fun week of racing. I'm going to go ahead, start sharing my screen if I can. Yeah, there we go. Share the screen. You're going to see the entry list here for the Birmingham Supercross. We're also going to show the entry list for MXGP before we head into our podium predictions. Of course, as Jack mentioned, there's only 21 West guys, but 37 East guys. Of course, you got all the main guys in here: Hammaker, Shock, Thrasher, Shimoda, Davies, Gio, Park, Miller, Swole, Bennick, Welton, Towers, Kelly, Dudney, Simonson, Clark, Neese, Clout, Phelps, Pacheri, Nick Romano, Pro Circuit, Kawasaki, fill in. Interesting there. Of course, Nick, a couple years ago, was one of the top star Yamaha prospects, had some flashes, missed all of 2023 due to injury. 2024 wasn't as great, and then last year, very injury riddled. He only had a couple races on the Phoenix Racing Honda, but he's bet on himself. He's getting a fill-in deal. Almost said feel, trying to sound like my dad, who loves to say feel and heel for Phil and Hill. But we got Romano, man. I like the guy, but I feel like this is pretty make or break for the number 141 now. Of course, 411 is taken, 511 is also taken, but I hope to see Nick do well, but I feel like this could be a very make or break opportunity for his career. I feel like if he is not able to get up front and show something in these few races, don't know how long the fill-in deal is necessarily, but it could be trouble for him. Nonetheless, a great opportunity for Nick. Hopefully, he makes good on it. Of course, Jace Kessler, Marcus Phelps, your guys on the Dirt Bike Depot team, Evan Ferry, CJ Bernard, Liam Aloff. Nothing really crazy otherwise in the 250 class. The east side, at least, west side, once again, also the reliable players. We did lose a few guys, as we mentioned. Michael Moseman is out. Also, Matty Jorgensen, who's been around the top 15 range, is out. He is injured, I believe, wrist, something along those lines. But you see, of course, the main contenders. You got Voland, you got Ryder D, Deegan, Levi Kitchen, Max Anstey, Cameron McAdoo, who we forgot to mention. Plus, some guys like Yoder should be in the main event, no problem. Parker Ross should be in the main event. Looks like Dylan Schwartz is back from injury. Of course, we got Mumphy in there, Rod Bell, Crockett Myers, friend of the show, Aiden Shive, Schlosser, Josh Faries, who's always rock solid usually. I feel like he'll sneak in there. Preston Massiangelo, Keegan Rowley. Moving into the 450 class, 50 entries by far the most all year. We got some folks coming back this weekend. We got an Austin Forkner sighting on the entry list. Hopefully, we get to see AF33 back in action. Two Triumph 450s this weekend, perhaps. It would be really cool to see if Austin is back and able to get the ball rolling again. Of course, you got the usual suspects once again. Jeremy Hand and John Short, instead of racing 250 East, they are moving to the 450 division. And what do we have right here? Anthony Rodriguez. Of course, he spent the last couple years with the Rides Unlimited KTM team. He is back, and that says Dirt Legal Dirt Bike Depot Racing WMR KTM. Jack, big step for the team this weekend. You guys are now an official 450 program, and you got a guy who's got quite a few main event starts under his belt. Talk about A-Rod joining your squad.
Yeah, so obviously even kind of had like an injury-ridden season, and it's just been kind of a tough year to start for sure. I think Gage will be back at some point. Obviously, I think Jackson Driscoll will be coming back soon as well. So, um, but for the time being and for the rest of the year, it should be, as long as everything works out or works itself out. A-Rod will be with the team, and I think it's a great move just for on his end. The pieces seem to align for him with what he wanted and what we were able to offer, and I think it works out for both parties that we get a guy who we think is capable of being in the main event and representing our sponsors to a high level, and I think he gets the opportunity to kind of use our resources and use our what we have to offer to his advantage. So I think it's a win-win for both guys, and I think for both parties. I think A Rod too will bring some much needed knowledge to the team. I think just we've been around a lot of young guys. We don't really have had any. We haven't had any like veterans of the sport really work with us yet. So for a guy like A Rod who can kind of come in and critique some things and show us kind of what how things run elsewhere, and he's been around the block. He's been on multiple different teams, and somebody that I think could mix it up this weekend in Birmingham. I think a main event is something that can definitely happen. I think a top 15 is definitely the goal. So I think it's possible, but we'll see how everything shapes out. But yeah, I'm excited to see him on the track and see how it goes out there.
And not to mention, he's familiar with the KTM, as I mentioned, so that'll be a big help. He's not adjusting to a brand new motorcycle. He's not getting comfortable with a new machine. He's used to that KTM. This will be his third consecutive year, four if you want to count the MDK World Supercross stint on an orange machine. Speaking of KTM teams with a fill-in, it looks like Lane Shaw will be filling in for the Moto Whips crew on this entry list. Of course, Anton Nordstrom went down in Arlington. I watched him be very sketchy throughout both B qualifying sessions over there. Anton is fast, but a little loose, and it came back to bite him. It's cool to see a lot of entries on the 450 list. We've had some sparse entries, some weekends where there were only like 35 guys to 38 guys in the 450 class. Now we got some more entries in there. Dayton Briggs also back. Speaking of the Moto Whips team, and how about this guy, a former champion, Justin Bogle on the Twisted Tea Suzuki. Justin Bogle, Colt Nichols, the Pack EMH boys together on a team. Bogle filling in, of course, for a certain former 250 West champion that is out of action for now. But it's been since 2022 since we've seen Justin Bogle in an AMA Supercross race. And I like Bogle, big fan of his style, both on and off the track. I'm not sure what to expect necessarily for Justin. I think simply making the main event will be a big win in a first weekend back. But I think it's cool to see a former champion coming back after a couple years away. Justin Bogle reunited with the HEP program. His last season, 2022, was with that crew. I'm excited to see him back. I don't know about you.
Oh no, I agree. I think Bogle being back is pretty sick. I love his style, and I think Him and Colt Nichols, I know we're pretty good friends. I've seen Justin like pretty much all the races I've been to this year, and I saw him in Indy, and I mean, I think he's been riding from what I've heard, and I think it for HEP if they want to get another guy on the bike, I think Bogle's a great guy to call. You know, I think Bogle's got what it takes. I think they're familiar with Bogle. They also have worked with Bogle in the past, so I think that's good as well. So I think that if the relationship's good, I think there's a lot of room to grow for Justin Bogle. Or not necessarily grow, but a lot of room for improvement. I think, based on like kind of how he left the series, but I think there's some in the tank still. So I'm excited to see how he does.
Also, Cade Clayson back for injury. I forgot to mention that. So both PRMX Kawasaki guys on the gate again. There's also SMX next, and of course we got a lot of the familiar faces here. We have a new one here, Gabriel Andrigo from Brazil. Looks like the EBR guys tapping into the Central America and South America pipelines. Of course, Carminati was in last time. We have Landon Gibson back. It looks like on the Rockstar Husqvarna. Of course, you got Vincent Way in there, who's been stepping up this year. Justin Turner looking to rebound from a rough Daytona. Caden Menier, the Anaheim winner. You have Cade Johnson back, Landon Gordon back, Deacon Deno, your winner from Daytona on that Triumph machine. Cole Timbo is back, Bar X Yamaha, Diesel Thomas. And this gentleman, I saw England, Harry Lee. I talked to our guy, Edward Heather from Cult Moto, about this. Asked him a little bit before the show. I'm like, what do you know about this guy? He said he's from around 20 minutes away. He said he was a bit of a late bloomer, didn't start very young in Supercross, but he said this kid's either going to shock the world this weekend or he's going to be a little bit behind everybody, and he doesn't feel like there's going to be an in between. But hopefully, we see something from Harry Lee. He's a part of that Dirt Store Triumph team. Of course, Ben Watson will be competing for them in a majority of the MXGP schedule this year. Also, Dylan Woodcock was over here, of course, one of the members of the Supercross all name team, if it was a thing. He was over here and raced a couple Supercross rounds at the beginning of the year. But that's your entry list from Birmingham. And now let's see if we can go to mxgp.com. See if we got, yes, we do. Spain MXGP entry list. What do we got? I haven't even checked these out yet. Of course, we have 34 listed. Whether they all race or not, I don't know. But Fever, Kuhn, Benestam, Blander, and Vial Horgmo go on down through the line. Nico Groitman, who was on a 250 in the EMX division last year, is now on a 450. That seems like a big jump. Nico, MX Academy Honda, for to see there. Roman Pep is in there, of course, a guy we're used to in SMX on the Team VHR Yamaha.
Pep was racing here,
He was. He was
like
at the
he
first
was.
few Supercross rounds, and
Yeah,
now
he
he's
was.
back in Europe.
Yeah, interesting, interesting.
And I'm sure we'll see him during the summer as well. I feel like he'll probably be coming back. Kaida Wolf on the entry list, but I feel like he's probably out once again. Trying to see Victor Alonso, a Spanish native, at his home race. Enzo is listed again, but he didn't race last time out. Oh, there we go. There's a legend right there. Jose Butron, Wildcat Race Team Gas legend on a KTM. Of course, this is his home race as well. Got a couple other Spaniards in there. Running down the rest of the list. Samuel Nilsson's back in action on a Yamaha. He's raced the last couple years in the MX2 class, now in the main division. Adam Sterry and Ben Watson making their debuts. Of course, two British riders for British teams running the majority of the season. All of the European rounds those guys will be at, but not the flyaway rounds. So we didn't see Adam or Ben at Argentina. And I believe Ben won the first round of the British Motocross Series pretty comfortably as well. Be cool to see what he's able to do on that Triumph machine. Now moving to MX2, once again, not crazy. Pel Gunderson's in there. He could surprise some people in terms of the privateer division. David Berceras, home race for him. Of course, you got all the regulars in here. Jens Walvort had some solid runs. Ferruccio Zanchi is listed, but he wasn't, or well, he did miss Argentina, but I don't see Mancini who is filling in for him. So maybe it looks like Zanchi will be back. Maxime Grau, maybe, ready to start the season as well. Lot Van Drunen, who is the WMX top racer in Europe. She is essentially the Lachlan Turner of European WMX. I don't really follow it closely, but I know she absolutely rips. And she does race in the men's class a few times here and there. And there she is on the number 401. Scott Smolders in there. Ivano Van Erp could be someone to look out for. Xanox, Regulus. We got a Brazilian in here again, Rodolfo Bicalio. Probably said that terribly wrong, but Langenfelder looking for another win. Sasha Kunin, can he keep it on two all weekend? My guess would be no. But that's your MXGP entry list. EMX 250 also this weekend, kind of their SMX next. I'll real quick look at it, see if I know some names. I do know Jake Cannon, Sebastian Layok up there, making me feel old because, of course, I'm so used to seeing Tanel Layok out there in the GP class. We got Francisco Garcia, who raced for Team Spain at the Motocross of Nations. There is Mancini, who filled in last week in MX2. He's back in his usual spot. Bernardo Tiburcio, another guy who was on Motocross of Nations for Brazil last year. Quite a few names in here that I'm not super familiar with, but I'm sure we will get accustomed to. Billy Askew on the Triumph, Vaclav Yanut on the KTM. You don't see Donson anywhere, which is a little bit surprising. But that is your EMX 250 entry list. Now it's time for predictions for Birmingham. There you have the Indianapolis results. And like I said, I got to brag because I finally did it. Podium, baby, 250 class. Nailed it. I also got a random spot for the first time all year, only the second random spot any of us have got. I had Kevin Moran's 18th in the 450 class, and Kevin got the job done. Now I'm only 20 points behind Jack. Gained 25 in there. Of course, you see Edward was with us as a guest last week. He made some predictions. And now moving over to Argentina, yeah, it was a little rough. First round of the year. We were not very good, were we? We had a couple guys on the podium. You had Tom Vial on your podium to your credit, but none of us had anybody in the right position. We all picked Langenfelder for second. If we would have picked him for the win, we would all have some more points there. I also didn't add up the points from us, but it's not really hard to see. We're getting 5 points for every rider on the podium, but not in the exact spot. So we all 10, 10, 10 across the board. Now moving back to Birmingham, we got the 450 class this weekend. We've got East-West Showdown this weekend. And of course, that means some shakeups in the results. I'm going to go ahead in just a second. As you can see, also random spot, fifth place this week. Nothing crazy. We've got like 16th, 18th the last few weeks, fifth place this week. I feel like that's a lot friendlier than what we've been accustomed to. Yeah. 18th
Especially
and
for an
20th
East
the last
West,
2 weeks.
especially for an East West. East West picking like
Yeah.
12th to like 18th would have been like hard.
Yeah. Roll the
It would,
dice. Who are you going to
yeah.
come up with? I'm actually going to go ahead and do my 450 picks. Of course, we'll make our MXGP predictions as well. Also got to move Detroit down because we got Ed joining us all year long in the MXGP series predictions. So I got to move that down a little bit. There we go. But my predictions for Birmingham, 450 class, I keep picking him to win. He's only won once this year, but he's won here in the past at Birmingham. It's a short history at the stadium. I like going with history this year. I think Cooper Webb is going to play a little bit of a spoiler, and Cooper Webb is going to win on Saturday night, but I think it's going to be Hunter Lawrence. And it's going to be Eli Tomac right behind him. I think they're going to be on the podium. Absolutely. I could see Justin Cooper ripping a good start being in the fight. But I think Cooper Webb is going to steal a victory this weekend. As we mentioned earlier in the show, we still believe that guys like Cooper Webb, Ken Roxon can play spoiler, can steal a win or two here and there, really mix things up. But I think Hunter and Tomac are both going to be on the podium. I feel silly to not pick them on the podium the way they've been racing right now. And actually, I'm looking, I picked the exact podium Ed picked for Indianapolis. So hopefully it works out a little bit better for me. I had Cooper winning Indy. I had Cooper winning Arlington. I had Cooper winning Seattle. Like I said, I've been picking Cooper Webb a lot. Now in the 250 division, I'm going to go backwards to forwards because make it more suspenseful. I'm going to go Joe Shimoda for third. I think that's a solid pick. Joe's been right there, hovering in that top five, that top three all season long. And I don't think the addition of Deegan, Kitchen, and Steve McAdoo, I don't think that changes anything. Joe Shimoda's on my podium. Second place, we tend to see some spoilers here at the East West Showdowns. Max Anstey's won in the East West Showdown before. Max Anstey won Anaheim 1. I think Max is going to have a really good weekend. I think it's going to be a bit of a revenge weekend for Max because, of course, last year he got injured at Birmingham. So he's going to put those demons behind him with a really good run for first place. There are so many guys I could go with here, but I think there's going to be shenanigans. I think there's going to be Hayden Deegan and Levi Kitchen shenanigans, even though they were seemingly on good terms after Seattle. I mean, there was still some trash talk from Hayden, but there was at least some sportsmanship and camaraderie there. I also think said shenanigans are going to involve Cole Davies because I think there might be shenanigans between the two-star Yamaha teammates with the red plate. We've seen a couple years ago the pro circuit guys collided. Incidentally, I think Cole and Deegan might have a little bit of beef from last year. I think those two are still going to be very aggressive with each other very early into their careers. So none of those guys I just mentioned are on my podium. I got Seth Hamaker for the win this weekend to make a statement and to take the red plate. We're going to see a red plate on a Kawasaki in 2026. And the first man to do it is not going to be Levi Kitchen. It's not going to be Chase Sexton. It's going to be Seth Hamaker with the win. Then for my random spots, fifth place, 450 class, I'm just going to go ahead and go Justin Cooper for fifth. He could be fourth. He could be on the podium. He could be eighth. I don't know. But I think Justin Cooper is a pretty solid bet for that position. He could get out front and get a good start and then settle in. I got J Coop for fifth. Then in the 250 showdown, I'm going to go with another star Yamaha. I'm going to go Pierce Brown P5. I think one of those guys involved in shenanigans gets up to fourth. But I think Pierce Brown will be in there. He won't quite have that winning speed, but he'll have a decent weekend nonetheless. So I have the number 163 in P5. There you have it. There's my Birmingham predictions. I got Webb, Hunter, Tomac, Hammaker, Anstey, Shimoda, Jay Coop, and Pierce Brown for my fifth place random spots. Jack, go ahead. Texas Stadium, Birmingham. Who you got for your 450 podium?
I think we're gonna see a swap. We're gonna see a swap. It's gonna be Tomac, Hunter. I think we'll see Ken Knox on the podium in Birmingham. I think Kenny looked really good in that first moto in Indy, and I think there was more in the tank there. I think Kenny coming off an off weekend, I think he's gonna have some more in the tank for a 20-minute moto, and I think he'll be right up there. I think he'll be leading some laps. I just don't think he can hold off Tomac and Hunter for 20 minutes. For my 250 class, this is tough, man. This is really, really tough. I personally kind of like your pick with Seth Hamaker. I think some shit's gonna go down this weekend. I don't think it's gonna be all sunshine and rainbows for Hayden Deegan. I think it's gonna be tough. I think I'm gonna go Pierce Brown for the win this weekend. I think Pierce is gonna get a good start, and I think some crap's gonna go on behind him, and I think it's gonna kind of open up a little bit of gap to second. Second, though, I do have Levi Kitchen. And then in third, I think we see Seth Hamaker. I think Seth Hamaker is going to stay out of it for the most part. I agree with you completely. I think this is another thing too that I didn't bring up. These East West shootouts could turn into an absolute shit show for Deegan if it goes wrong, right? Like if he doesn't get a top 10, like
Everybody involved.
the championship does kind of turn around a little bit if Kitchen's able to get a win or get a podium and Deegan has a bad race. So it could definitely serve as like a last ditch effort for a guy like Levi Kitchen to get back in this thing. But for fifth place, I'm gonna go Cole Davies. I don't think Cole's on the podium this weekend, but I think Cole will be up there for the most part. I don't think he'll be right in the mix. And then for my fifth place in the 450 class, I'm gonna go Jorge Prado. I think Prado's gonna get be right up there with Ken Roxon, and just obviously I don't think he has what it takes right now to be on the podium necessarily and beat those three guys, but I think he'll be right there in the top five. I'm gonna go right to my MXGP spot if you don't mind.
Yeah, as you can see, we have Ed's predictions already in there. He sent them to me before the show. He has Jeffrey Herlings going back to back on the Honda machine, Tim Geiser in second aboard the Monster Energy Yamaha, Lucas Kuhn in third. Then he has Sasha Kunin once again, very similar MX2 podium from last week. He had Sasha Kunin and Langenfelder 1-2, same again. Then Liam Everts in third on the Neston Husqvarna. Hopefully, Liam gets a rebound this weekend after a bit of a disappointing round, I think, in Argentina. But go ahead, Jack. Now you can see Ed's predictions. And we're all tied. We crushed it in Argentina, as you could see. What you got for Spain this weekend?
Spain, I think with it being Gillem's home track, I think Gillem's gonna. I don't know if he's. This is after a great weekend in Argentina, moving to Spain as he's a track he's raced at his whole life, ridden at growing up. I think he's gonna be really, really good there. I think it's not gonna be the prettiest weekend ever. I think he's gonna have a okay qualifying race, but I think he's gonna win a moto, and I think he's gonna get a top three in the second moto, or whatever, vice versa. I think it's gonna end up holding strong though for an overall victory for Gillum. Second place, I'm gonna go Langenfelder, and then third place, I'm gonna go Liam Everts. I think that's pretty safe. I think Liam looked pretty good in Argentina, minus the crashes. Um, 450, I'm gonna go. It's hard not to pick Herlings, but I think I'm gonna go for a guy like Tom. I'm picking Tom again. I think Tom hard pack track. Tom's pretty darn good in the hard pack stuff.
No
Um,
bias at all with your winning predictions this week.
No, no, and I don't even know who these guys are. I'm just big fans. I think Tom gets it done. I think Tom's a great starter, and I think it'll prove to be good. I think this it's a hard packed track, so I think the Blue Groove stuff he raced a lot of it. It seemed like in France. So during the off season races he was doing, I think it'll work in Tom's favor. Second, I have Tim Geischer, and third. I have Roman Febrev. I don't think Herlings is on the podium. I think it's going to be a tough round for Herlings. It's just not a track I see him being super successful at. Um, but I'm excited to see how he does.
I want to put Jeffrey Herlings at the top of my podium, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep the guy I had up there for Argentina. I think Lucas Kunin puts together a big rebound this weekend, gets the victory. I do think Herlings is going to be up there, though. Picking him for second feels weird because it seems like he usually either wins or he's off the podium because of something happening. But I got Jeffrey for P2, and after his performance in Argentina, I'm not going to leave Tom off the podium. I'm going to have him at P3. I think he has a solid weekend, nothing too flashy, which then again, Tom Vial never really is flashy, but he's going to get a solid weekend in there. I also am going to put Sasha Kunin. I think it's going to be a great day for the Kunin brothers. I think he wins this one. Probably pretty risky given his track record, but he also wins. He's also fast as balls. Sasha Kunin is going to win this weekend. Oh, we did it again. I'm not liking this. I just realized, I'm like, oh crap, Langenfelder. You know what? Never, I didn't. I'm picking Perez for second. It's his home track. I'm picking Guillaume Perez on the Triumph for second to avoid the Langenfelder P2 curse again. I'm going to have Langenfelder on the podium though, P3. I think he's going to be solid. I think all of those guys, like 1-1-3, 3-1, 2-2. It's going to be really close up front for the overall victory, I think. Perez is starting really well. He gets up there, gets a moto win, like you said, but I think Sasha Kunin is going to get the job done after a really tough round in Argentina. Hopefully, he can stay on two wheels and not make me and Edward sound like idiots. But there we have it. There's our predictions for Birmingham this weekend. As you can see, that's what we got. Now we are moving into Birmingham, into Spain. Of course, next weekend we'll have Detroit back to standalone rounds for the East Coast of Supercross. But this has been episode number 32 of the Stire Sound. I, of course, am Trey Stire, your host. You can find me on socials, Instagram at TJStire3, TJSTIRE3, Stire23 on X. I'm not as active on there anymore, but I'm still there somewhat. Go follow Jack as well. Jack Noel 35 on Instagram. Jacked Up SMX, his other Instagram account, plus DBD Racing on there. Got to follow the guys over at the Dirt Bike Depot team. Also, really quick before we leave, I recorded something fun last night. You will probably be seeing this. It might be uploaded as you're watching this. Of course, Dire Sound will be up on Wednesday, recording this Tuesday afternoon. But I am trying to do something a little bit unique and creative. We're doing a trying to think of what to call this. It's kind of like a game show format, but it is related to trivia and stats for motocross and supercross. It's kind of like those games you see with some of these sports folks online where they're guessing, looking at basketball reference and looking through a player's teams and statistics and trying to guess who it is. We're doing something along those lines for motocross. It's called Whose Standing Is It Anyway? Two of my buddies, Jeremy and Jaden, were the first contestants. They'll probably be the contestants on the next game. I'm excited for you guys to see that. It was the first time, so we didn't really go into it with a huge idea of everything we wanted, but we put it in. It was really fun to record and to make, so I hope you guys enjoyed as much as I had some fun hosting it. I will get that edited, put it up. Some fun little content. I don't know how often we'll do those. Probably depends on the engagement and the reach we get out of it, but it was definitely very fun. I hope to do them maybe every other week, maybe every month. Depends on anything going on, but I hope you guys enjoy that. Stay tuned. Be sure to follow us once again on every platform: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, iHeartRadio. Helps get that visibility out there. We appreciate your support. Real quick, Jack, do you have anything else you want to add before we conclude?
No, it's East West time, dude. I'm ready to see some good battles, man. It should be fun.
I'm excited as well. MXGP as well. Very stoked for this weekend. But this has been episode number 32 of the Stire Sound for Jack Noel. I am Trey Stire. Thank you so much for listening and joining us. We hope you enjoyed your off week, but racing's back and the Stire Sound is fading out.